The Kingston sun beat down on the track. It was just another Tuesday. But for the athletes on the Mondo surface, it was everything. Sweat dripped from their faces. Their lungs burned with each stride. They were some of the fastest people on earth. Yet their eyes were not on the finish line. Their eyes were fixed on one man. He stood on the sidelines, arms crossed. He wore simple clothes, a plain shirt, shorts, a cap to shield him from the glare. He did not shout. He did not need to. His presence was enough. This was Steven Francis, a name whispered with respect and fear. He was the architect of speed. He watched every movement with intense focus, each step, each arm swing, each subtle shift in posture. He saw things others missed, a slightly misaligned foot, a shoulder held too high, a flicker of doubt in an athlete's eyes. Tiny details that separated a good runner from a great one, details that separated a national contender from a world champion. For Francis, greatness was not luck. It was a science, a puzzle he spent his life solving, piece by meticulous piece, on this very track. Who was this quiet man who held so much power? Steven Francis was more than just a coach. He was a visionary who reshaped the landscape of Jamaican athletics. He founded the Maximizing Velocity and Power (MVP) track club with a clear mission. He wanted to keep Jamaica's best talent at home. Before him, many promising sprinters left for American colleges. They often returned with their potential unfulfilled. Francis believed they could become the world's best right here in Jamaica. He built an empire not with money or fancy facilities, but with knowledge, discipline, and an unshakable belief in his system. This essay will explore the life of a true coaching genius. We will start with his story, from his early days to his rise as a global force in track and field. We will see how he built the MVP club from nothing into a powerhouse. Then we will look closely at his legacy. This is not just a story about stopwatches and medals. It is a human story. It is about the athletes whose lives he changed forever. We will hear their voices. We will understand the deep bond they shared with their demanding coach. We will look at the controversies and the triumphs that marked his incredible journey. His death in May 2024 sent shockwaves through the world of sports. It left a void that may never be filled. Why does the loss of one coach matter so much? It matters because Steven Francis did not just train athletes. He built an institution. He created a new model for success. He showed the world that a small island nation could dominate a global sport. He proved that greatness could be cultivated with the right mix of science, psychology, and relentless hard work. His passing marks the end of an era for Jamaican sprinting and for athletics as a whole. Steven Francis was not born into the world of athletics. His early life pointed him in a very different direction. His first passion was not the 100-meter dash, but the complex game of politics. He studied political science and worked in the political sphere for a time, learning how institutions function. This experience, seemingly unrelated to sports, would later prove invaluable. It taught him how to think strategically and how to build something lasting from the ground up. His journey into coaching began almost by accident. His brother was a talented athlete, and Steven found himself on the sidelines, observing. He started offering advice, simple tips born from his keen observational skills. He saw how a minor adjustment in form could shave precious fractions of a second off a runner's time. He devoured books on biomechanics. He devoured books on physiology. He devoured books on sports psychology. He studied the physics of sprinting, breaking down the race into a series of precise, interconnected movements. His methods were a stark departure from the norm. He believed in quality over quantity. He would have his athletes practice specific segments of the race over and over again. He had them perfect the start. He had them perfect the transition. He was not a coach who just yelled, "Run faster." He was a teacher who explained how to run faster. By the late 1990s, Steven Francis was ready to formalize his vision. He saw a major problem in Jamaican athletics. The country's most promising young sprinters were being lured away to the United States, but often return without reaching their peak. In 1999, he founded the Maximizing Velocity and Power Track Club. The club started with next to nothing. They had no fancy facilities, no big-name sponsors, and very little money. He created a disciplined, no-nonsense environment. The rules were simple: show up on time, work hard, and trust the process. Athletes like Brigitte Foster Hilton, a hurdler, and Asafa Powell, a young sprinter with raw power, joined the group. The arrival of Asafa Powell at the MVP club was a turning point. Here was an athlete with extraordinary natural talent. But he was unrefined. On June 14, 2005, in Athens, Greece, Asafa Powell broke the 100-meter world record, clocking a time of 9.77 seconds. It was validation for everything Steven Francis had been working towards. A Jamaican athlete, trained in Jamaica by a Jamaican coach, was officially the fastest man on the planet. While Powell was conquering the men's side, Francis was also nurturing another future legend. A young, determined sprinter named Shelly Ann Fraser came to him. He taught her to leverage her strengths, particularly her explosive start. He was building another champion, one who would soon earn the nickname Pocket Rocket. The MVP Track Club was no longer an experiment, it was a proven champion-making factory. His primary focus was always on technique. Raw talent without a flawless technical model was useless to him. He broke the 100 millers into distinct phases. Athletes often spent whole sessions practicing the first 30 meters, over and over. Francis pioneered video analysis in Jamaica. He'd point out a foot landing slightly off-center. Tiny details. In a sport decided by thousandths of a second, they were everything. He emphasized power, not just strength. The MVP weight room didn't build bodybuilder muscle. It focused on Olympic lifts, plyometrics. His plans were not generic. They were individualized. Every run was timed. Every improvement was measured and recorded. No guesswork. He set impossibly high standards and rarely offered praise. This was a calculated strategy to keep his athletes hungry, focused, constantly striving for perfection. This demanding environment created a powerful bond of shared struggle among the MVP athletes. He taught them to handle pressure by making their daily training environment more pressurized than any championship final. Shelly Ann Fraser Price has spoken often about how Francis believed in her when she did not believe in herself. All the years of scientific training came together in a spectacular explosion of success at the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing. In the women's 100 meters, the MVP dominance was absolute. Shelly Ann Fraser won the gold medal. Karen Stewart and Sharon Simpson tied for the silver medal. It was a historic moment, a testament to the depth of talent Francis had assembled and cultivated. The success continued throughout the championships. Melaine Walker, another MVP athlete, won gold in the 400-meter hurdles. The world's media descended on Kingston. They found no magic formula, only a simple track, a determined group of athletes, and a quiet, intense coach who had rewritten the rules of the sport. Francis found himself clashing frequently with the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association. This led to public disagreements over team selections, training camp requirements, and competition schedules. The pristine image of the MVP Track Club was severely damaged in 2013 when a major doping scandal erupted. Several of Francis's top athletes, including former world record holder Asafa Powell and Olympic medalist Sharon Simpson, tested positive for a banned stimulant. Francis responded with a fierce defense of his athletes. He maintained that his athletes had not knowingly cheated. While the athletes were eventually given reduced bans, the stain remained, a stark reminder that in the world of elite sports, a champion's reputation is incredibly fragile. In his later years, the relentless pace and constant stress of coaching began to take a visible toll on Steven Francis. He faced several health scares that required him to spend time away from the track. Despite these challenges, his passion for coaching never waned. Francis took on more of a senior advisory role, mentoring younger coaches, overseeing the program's direction. The news of his death on May 24, 2024, came as a profound shock to the Jamaican people and the global athletics community. Tributes poured in from around the world. Athletes he had coached, rivals he had battled, officials he had clashed with, all spoke of his genius. The quiet, intense man who stood on the sidelines, watching every detail, was no longer there. The Factory of Speed had lost its founder and its guiding light. Stephen Francis was more than a coach. He was a thinker, he was a builder, he was a revolution in a single, determined man. It is the generation he molded: Shelly Ann Fraser-Pryce, Asafa Powell, Elaine Thompson-Herah. For future coaches and athletes, the lessons are clear. Trust in data, understand the human heart, demand discipline, challenge tradition. The track in Kingston is quieter now. The intense gaze that missed nothing is gone. But the echo of his stopwatch reverberates. It is heard in explosive starts. It is seen in flawless technique. It lives on in the system and the countless lives he transformed. The champions he created will carry his fire forward for generations. The echo of his genius never truly fades.